Welcome back to Real Phonies, where we take a love for movies and television and combine it with very little knowledge about movies and television. I'm your host, Christian. Joined with me, as always, are my co-hosts, Joseph.
Yellow.
And Jehu. Ian's not with us. He is not quite on his honeymoon, but he will be shortly. He's getting crap ready to...
He's very busy being newly married.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? It's a busy time in a young man's life. He's kind of almost a middle-aged man, but... busy time in that part of his life. In an
old young man's life.
Correct. But we're here to discuss the movie event of the year, Spider-Man No Way Home. This film takes place immediately following Spider-Man Far From Home. A side note, I hate that all these movies have the word home in it.
I think this will be the last one.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's been hard for me to keep it straight. Where Mysterio reveals Peter's identity, and now Peter has to deal with the repercussions of the whole world knowing that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. He enlists Doctor Strange help to solve the issue when calamity ensues, and he spends, 2 hours of his life getting significantly worse, being tortured by villains of Spider-Man past. Yeah, I mean, the usual players in this franchise, Tom Holland, Jacob Batalon, Zendaya, but also joined by Willem Dafoe and Jamie Foxx and Alfred Molina.
Some familiar names.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
A weird name that we have to be familiar with.
Yeah, you just have to say it. Anytime I say it, I think I said it wrong. I'm always like, that's not his name. It's something else.
That's not a person.
I'm always afraid I'm going to just call him the Bandersnatch or whatever that thing is from Alice in Wonderland. So, do we want to start with initial reactions? Joseph, do you have something random to add here like you normally do? Or
is this a convention that we've established?
You have to add something before people say what they think of it. It happens every time. Tell me if I'm wrong.
I did have something because I wanted to go back to
Of course you did.
No Way Home thing, because it took me like 4 years after the movie Spider-Man Homecoming came out for me to realize that the movie was actually like set around a homecoming dance. I don't know why they decided to keep that as a convention, but they didn't have to. But I appreciated that. I don't think it was supposed to be an in-joke. I think it was just supposed to be obvious, but it made me appreciate the film more, a few years down the road.
See, with Homecoming, there were a couple of layers, right? Like the movie
and
circles.
By a couple, you mean literally two.
No, well, there is a third. I believe the first Spider-Man story post Secret Wars was actually called Spider-Man Homecoming. So I think there was a comic root for it. But yes, also his homecoming into the Marvel Universe and the homecoming dance. But there was no need to stick with it after.
No, not at all. All right, we're doing initial reactions?
Sure, I say Hurt goes first because he always goes first.
Man, this is podcasting and there's, of course, going to be a lot of quibbling, but goddamn, this was a fun movie. I can't even relate to anyone who doesn't think that it does. I suppose if you're someone who uses the term fan service a lot, you probably fucking hated this movie because this might be the most fan servicey thing ever, but I fucking loved it.
Yeah, so I guess start off somewhere that feels negative, but I promise that I'll come around to it. I recently watched a bunch of Spider-Man movies, and I kind of came down harder on the Tom Holland ones than I had previously felt, because I truthfully wasn't sure if it actually was, like good Spider-Man. Like, people talk about it being Tony Stark Jr., but I was kind of more like, if you took out the name Peter Parker and Spider-Man and you put in like Alexander and Nova, would the plots be any different? Would they be the exact same movies? And I think they kind of would be. Right. Like I don't think that it really had, Spider-Man's really, the character is about learning to be a superhero. Cap is perfect because he's the perfect guy to be Cap. And Tony is, rich and clever and smart. Peter is just a normal kid who's a little bit smarter than everybody else, but has kind of social problems, who ends up, this crazy thing happens to him and he doesn't know how to be a superhero. And, you have Uncle Ben's death at the heart of his story, and this idea of great power comes great responsibility. And it's his fault. And how do, I move forward because I have to. And Tom Holland has learned no lessons as Peter Parker up to this point. He hasn't even been the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He spent no time in his neighborhood. In fact, he's the world traveler, intergalactic Spider-Man that we have seen. So, like, I had kind of been like, man, maybe these aren't like, he's good in that part, but maybe these really haven't been very good Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, I mean, to Tom Holland's credit, or to that version Spider-Man, he doesn't get to pick what part of his life the movies show.
Oh, correct. It's not his fault, right? Like, I'm not blaming him. I had kind of soured on that interpretation of Spider-Man, but I think this movie goes a really long way to try to correct those issues, and it pretty much nails it. You know, I don't really love fan service as a reason to do things. I think a lot of the plot in the first half of this movie is just convenient to set up the back half of this movie, but that last hour is arguably the most fun I've ever had in a movie theater. And I've seen it twice, and everything hits just as hard the second time as it does the first time. The payoff is payoff of 20 years of Spider-Man movies. And it's honestly hard to imagine they could have done it better. Like, they literally, like, even stuff that you knew was going to happen, and we'll talk more about it in spoilers. Even if you knew it, like, I'm just going to say the MJ falling thing, because of, you know, we saw that in the trailer. Even though you knew what that scene was going to be, it still worked. Like, even if it wasn't a surprise, it still worked exactly how it was going to. And so few can do that and get that right. Like, I've seen it twice. I loved it both times. I honestly could watch it a third time today.
You know, one of the things I was going to quibble with about this movie is, even though I think Tom Holland himself really lands Spider-Man as far as what Peter Parker should act like and what Spider-Man should act like and stuff like that, he does it with almost no help, because up until these have been sort of the least Spider-Man-y Spider-Man movies as far as the Spider-Man convictions, the Spider-Man plot points you've got to hit. So I agree on that point.
Yeah. Joseph.
It's funny you bring up, I guess what Spider-Man is, because one of the things that I really loved about the Tom Holland ones, which I don't know if it actually is what Spider-Man is, but it's what Spider-Man is in my mind, is like the first two movies do such a good job of making it seem like being Spider-Man is like, I don't know, not natural, but like it's so much easier than being in high school. All of the things where he's like saving the city, like he's struggling, he's figuring it out, but then like he goes into like a high school party, or he's like trying to ask a girl out, and that seems like the hardest fucking thing in the world. And I love that. Like, that to me is so much of, I don't know, what I feel like it's about, which again, I have no basis for. And that's one of the things I like about these movies. I don't know. I feel like they had a pretty unique tone comparatively to the other two. And I feel like the more I get away from having seen it in the first place, the less I feel like I enjoyed this movie. I still think it's good. I still think it's better than Transformers. It's objectively just a fun time, but I kind of feel like it's doing the Ready Player One thing and just leaning on all of the existing goodwill. I don't feel like it's really that much of this Spider-Man story. I don't feel like it's this much of like a good closer to this trilogy. It's fun, but I don't know. I feel like we had the opportunity to do the fan service thing, and it was great and it was fun, but it also, I don't feel like serviced the general story that we were trying to tell.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think I want to talk about more of this, but more to your point, Joseph. It's hard to do anything talking about this movie without giving a spoiler warning.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But one thing about that, before we do get to spoilers, it's funny how little of it, like going into this, everybody's like, oh man, you got to see it before anything gets spoiled on you. You got to see it. And even though I loved it, there was actually very little that was surprising to me about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's one big sort of sad surprise, but overall, it's not that. It's pretty much what you thought it was going to be going in.
Man, we gotta for sure put a pin in that, because I want to go back to one of Christian's things from last week. So we'll get to that in a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that's specific to us, though. Like, she might be able to hear me from in here, but like, spoiler alert. I'm not even sure that my wife knows that there are other Spider-Man in this movie. So like it's gonna be a whole thing for her.
Spoilers, by the way. I hope if you're listening to this podcast, you probably were aware that there was the rumor that the other two Spider-Men were in there.
Hey.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I kind of want to just tie something in real quick. You kind of talked about the sad surprise, which is of course Aunt May dying, and that I want to take it back to Joseph, what was originally talking about. I actually disagree with you because of that. For me, I think the first two movies were kind of lacking. Part of Spider-Man's whole thing, his origin story, is that when he messes up, because he doesn't know what he's doing, it has life or death consequences. And he has to learn to be able to move past that. And we got him in the other series. Like, obviously, you get Uncle Ben's death and you get Gwen Stacy's death, even though we don't get Amazing Spider-Man 3. We don't have that for this version of Spider-Man. Like, this kid has never once in the first two films has anything gone wrong been a product of his own actions. Right. And I feel like that's kind of missing what makes good Spider-Man stories. Like, it's not just Uncle Ben, it's eventually Gwen Stacy. Even take Civil War. Like, when Aunt May dies in the next story, it's because Peter chose to unmask himself, and then Kingpin targets Aunt May. Like, it's not that it was forced upon him like it is in this movie or in the previous movie with Mysterio. So it's the first time I think that you really get an emotional moment that affects Peter Parker that is a very true comic moment. So to say, this is why I disagree about it being like a conclusion to his series, because his trilogy, because it's the first time we've actually ever put this version of Peter Parker through anything emotional.
I mean, besides the death of Tony Stark.
Sure.
Okay.
But, I mean, really,
that was literally the whole point of the second movie.
That wasn't on him, though.
No, I understand, but he was going through an emotional thing. It just wasn't his fault. And as kind of a rebuttal to that, one of the things that bothers me about the Amazing Spider-Man movie is that it like leans way too hard on just personal relation deaths as a motivating factor. I'm not saying that you can't do that. I'm not saying that you can't have a story where the whole thing is like Spider-Man does something wrong and there are major consequences for his actions. But I just feel like it happens in the Raimi trilogy too. But for the Amazing Spider-Man, I just feel like deaths per minute. I feel like they drained the bottle on that one, and I feel like I don't think this one had the same amount of weight. I feel like there are other ways to tell a story, to have consequences for your actions that aren't just like, oh, killed somebody that you know. So I don't know. I didn't love that either.
I just think it's a very Spider-Man thing.
I also feel like since Ian's not here, I have to say this. I was super bummed at that part too, because Aunt May was the last person in the MCU I still thought was hot. Like Zendaya's a baby. True Grit Girl's a baby. I thought Aunt May was hot, which was weird in its own sense. So I have mixed feelings about it. I shouldn't think Aunt May is hot, so I'm glad I no longer think Aunt May is hot. But still, that was the last man standing.
I gotta bitch about internet culture for a second about this Aunt May thing.
I mean, this bitching about internet culture was gonna happen about this fucking movie, regardless of where we started.
There's such a large like geeks and gamers, other these kind of alt-right fanboy communities that are like, see, the world shows up for straight white heroes, anti-woke stuff, and if you don't think Spider-Man is quote unquote woke, and if you don't think this one, which takes arguably the greatest line in comic book history, erases the male character who ever said it, and then gives it to its female counterpart, is not woke, then what the fuck are you watching?
Yeah.
Like, it literally does the thing that you says it's not going to do, and it does it so well that it shows that this shit should happen in movies. Like, it just makes me so mad that these people are so ignorant and so dumb.
I mean, totally. It did. It just like this Spider-Man doesn't have an Uncle Ben. His Uncle Ben was a single mother. Like, if that's not woke, I don't know what is.
I mean, I'm not saying I like the Uncle Ben character, but I thought they really handled it well in this movie. Like,
dude, and it's a gut punch when it happens, because when she gets up, you think she's fine, and as soon as she delivers that line, you're like, well, fuck.
Yeah. And Tom, I mean, might be the best acting performance of his career. Like, he is so good in that scene. And then the very next one where he's standing in front of J. Jonah Jameson, just blasting him after his aunt died. He's so fucking good in that. I mean,
to refute my own point from just a few minutes ago, for like, two movies, even though the second movie is about the loss of Tony Stark, it's not like a direct loss. It's kind of like, just kind of this lingering grief sort of thing. This is definitely the most range that was expected of Tom Holland in, all three movies. And I mean, he delivered.
Man, we're all over the place with this, but
100%. I don't know whose fault it was, but
we've brought up quality of acting, how fucking good is Willem Dafoe?
Oh,
he's so great.
I know
it drives me nuts how fucking good he is. For most of this movie, everybody else was like riffing, and Willem Dafoe was like fucking acting, and he stole the show.
Is there anyone in Hollywood that commits more than Willem Dafoe?
Dude, everybody else in this was making like a fucking podcast where they were making jokes about 5 other Spider-Man movies, and he just snuck in and was like, no, I'm going to make a fucking movie.
Yeah, 100%.
And he's just, dude, the fucking turn when he goes back from being Norman to the Goblin, it is so fucking good. It sent chills up my spine in this dumb comic book movie. I loved it. Also, I should say, Toby acts a little too. The Raimi movies come out looking good in this.
Sure.
Yeah, so I don't love the first half of this movie. I don't think and I have a point to this. I'm going to connect it to what you're talking about here in just a second. I think everything happens super conveniently, not that it's ever really earned. For example, Doctor Strange just agreeing to brainwash the entire planet.
Right.
Or Jacob just happening, or Ned, sorry, just happening to have magic powers. Doctor Strange's apparent nemesis is geometry. I didn't like that shit.
I like that bit, but I mean, even further than that, there's a lot of conveniences of what about like the collection of the Spider-Man at the end. There's no reason for fucking Sandman to still be evil in this. There's just a lot of dumb little contrivances. Though we know by the time we get to the last act of this movie, we know the whole point of this movie was just to make that happen in any way that it could happen. Could it have been set up more naturally? Probably, maybe, but they had a lot of road to travel on this one.
For sure. And I'm not
Doctor Strange, like the way he was written in this was to the chagrin of people writing Doctor Strange for like 30 years. Because totally his powers in this either work or do not work in whatever way they need the plot to move forward.
Yeah.
That was probably my least favorite part. Sorry to also interrupt you, Jones. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. To me, I like Doctor Strange 1, but I think we fucking perfected him in Infinity War and Endgame. Mm-hmm. Like, he's 100%. So good. And then this is the worst take of Doctor Strange we've had yet. So it was a little disappointing. But when you get to the apartment scene, from there on out, it's great. And it starts with Willem Dafoe. I mean, he's just so freaking good. Every time he delivered a line, I was like, fuck, man. Like, this movie does not deserve this guy trying this fucking hard.
Especially when they're not even trying to animate the fucking sand in Sandman, apparently. It's 2021, guys. We can do better.
Me and Sarah on the way home were trying to think of any movie that has like a crazy person that needs to be sympathetic that Willem Dafoe would not have done a better job in. And I can't think of one. He just fucking nails that so well. I don't know anybody who could do it better.
Yeah, I mean, I will say for the other villains, like, I think generally Lizard and Sandman don't count in my mind. Like, they're CGI nothingness this whole movie. Sure. I think both Jamie Foxx and Alfred Molina are pretty good in this movie.
I agree.
I agree. Though, that said, it's not Alfred Molina's fault, but, there's a real fucking character missing when those arms aren't puppets.
Yeah. I will say, to the villain perspective, man, you had the chance to do 6. 6 is an important number. We don't have a single villain from Holland's run. That feels like a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
It really, it really seemed like Vulture needed to be here, right? Like,
yeah, I would say Vulture, or just imagine how fucked up Tom would have been, or Peter would have been if he had seen Mysterio.
right.
Like he's dealing with the repercussions of Mysterio's actions this entire movie. If that third act, Mysterio pops up, I mean, it would just wreck him.
I mean,
Yeah, no, totally.
so that's one of the things I do want to talk about. Fuck, we are all over the place. I really wanted to do a little bit more structure on this, but here we are. Because I do feel like there might have been versions of this movie that had like different elements. Like I think that was probably what they wanted to do, because I think it makes the most sense like thematically for the rest of the movies. But like, where the fuck do you fit that in, you know? Like adding Mysterio.
You guys know before this, I was all full of Mysterio conspiracy theories.
Yep.
Here's my one I still have. Mysterio was in this movie. Mysterio was J. Jonah Jameson.
Ooh,
that's good.
That
That's
last
so
line
good.
where he says, "Only a coward doesn't reveal who he really is."
Yeah.
That
That's
was
so good.
So that is great. I was going to say, to Joseph's point, I think, we kind of resolved the Spidey killed Mysterio thing like almost off screen.
right.
And so I thought instead of, even having, I mean, the Daredevil moment is cool, but instead of that scene, if like Mysterio were to pop up, say he did come from another dimension, right? And it wasn't just our version, it was a former version. He comes here, he sees all this hoopla about Mysterio being dead. He sees it as an opportunity to be this guy again. Goes on the Daily Bugle and says, "No, I'm not dead. Thankfully, someone saved my life. I decided I'd reveal Spider-Man before he could take mine." Like, I just think you could have done even one scene to reintroduce that character, even if it's an alternate universe version, because I think you'd smart enough to be able to pick up on what the ruse is.
Right.
Maybe it's a pretty busy movie, but maybe. Again, we're all over the place. But I feel like this was of the Spider-Man movies, I would say it had probably the most jokes, despite being kind of a more serious movie than the rest of them. But I feel like it had the lowest hit ratio for me anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one problem with that is there's so many jokes after Aunt May dies, and man, it's just hard for them to land.
For sure. But I will say the bit with Matt Murdock when Peter's like, "How did you do that?" He goes, "I'm a really good lawyer." That was my fucking favorite thing in the whole movie.
My auditorium popped for that one. That was a good joke.
Yeah, I mean, on that cameo specifically, I know Joseph has, I think, called Charlie Cox a really good TV actor, and that's
I have, and I stand by it.
I think he's great in that scene, and it is great to see him next to those characters.
Maybe this is his time to shine. I'm still like, well, we won't get into fucking other people, but I don't want anyone else from Daredevil coming in. Though they will.
I don't think it's that universe as Daredevil. You know what I mean? I just think now they have the out that they can pick and choose who they want. And I think it's pretty much him and D'Onofrio are the only two cutting it from here on out.
I think that there'll be a vague sense that the things maybe happened like they happened, but we won't see much of anybody else. Although I do think they could do cool stuff with Jessica Jones in the MCU. One of the problems with that show was that comic was really based around her solving mysteries about superheroes, and she didn't have that to do in that show, but she would in the MCU proper. And I mean, like, for instance, she could be the person who works out the timeline of what the fuck happened to Cap after he went back in time, something like that.
Yeah, I also going back to the Daredevil scene. I love the bit between him and Happy, since Favreau was the original Foggy. Like, I thought that was really clever.
That was totally.
We were talking about cameos. Do we want to talk about the big ones, or are there other things that we want to discuss first, since we're all over the place?
Let's just go and get to it.
So, much to the internet's joy and excitement, what we've known for literally 12 months was that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield came back as their interpretations of Spider-Man / Peter Parker. Listen, I think they're both fucking great in this. I was very nervous about it, almost to the point where I kind of just wished it was bullshit. But I think they both knock it out of the park. I think they're both great in this.
I think on a level playing field, out of the two of them, probably Andrew Garfield's the better actor. But I think that Garfield maybe tried to fit into this world too much, whereas Tobey Maguire said, no, I'm just going to play my Peter Parker. And I think that worked out a little better for him. But they were both good.
I did think that was interesting because I don't feel like he was written like this, the Raimi Spider-Man, but also like, it's implied. And, I feel like you have to imply at this point that it's been a number of years in his universe since the movies that we watched him in. So it's also like entirely possible that he is just like a more like chill grown up, possibly like less awkward Spider-Man now.
Well, he really was still good at making that Peter Parker face, though. That sort of
I think that's
smile.
just his face.
Yeah.
The scene with Andrew Garfield sticking to the ceiling is outstanding. That's just one of the best. And to your point earlier, Christian, like I think on a grander scale, the fact that Ned has like the ability to use magic is, I don't know, a little overly convenient, even in this movie. But it is a really funny pop when like he makes that offhanded comment to Doctor Strange earlier, and then it pays off in this scene.
Well, that and the later bit when Toby says my best friend tried to kill me, he died in my arms after trying to kill me, and then Ned's like, I promise I will never try to kill you. Like there is besides obviously that character becoming Hobgoblin, but there is a little bit of like motivation there since he kind of has magic powers. I just thought it was dumb. It's just not a choice I would have made, but. I think my favorite scene with the three of them, I love the Garfield's introduction, Joseph, to your point, him sticking to the ceiling. That's hilarious. But there are just so many inside jokes when it's just the three of them riffing on the Statue of Liberty. And maybe you can make an argument that that's just all fan service, or that scene goes on.
It's like the highest level of fan service you can possibly get to. But, as Hurt says, we're all fans, and I like being serviced. I think you guys like being serviced too.
Yeah, it kicks. That scene rocks. I love it.
My favorite joke in the whole movie, and this is probably because this is a highly specialized category of humor that I pop for, but I love jokes about youth ministers.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great bit.
So the youth minister joke just killed me.
Why was he dressed like that?
I think it would have been hilarious if Peter Parker in his universe did become a youth minister.
Right.
Yeah.
That seems about right.
It does.
I think Andrew came out better than Toby in this one, mostly because there's absolutely no resolution to Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man because of what happens to the Amazing Spider-Man series, and we get quite a bit of that here. But I also just think his version of Peter Parker, I just got done recording with Derek Diamond, and we were talking a little bit about this movie, and someone had said that their problem with him is just, he's just too pretty and he's awkward. And I'm like, that's the thing. Like Andrew Garfield is like too good looking, too cool of Peter Parker, but is that he's like a hyper introvert. The reason why he's witty with the mask on is he's not face to face with those people. Mm-hmm. And so like his uncomfortable kind of neurotic depreciating version of Peter, I think works so well against Tom Holland, who is incredibly handsome and has the whole world going for him as Peter Parker in this. And then as Tobey Maguire's like, oh, I've got shit figured out now.
Right.
Spider-Man. And I just think it was such a good like balancing act from the guy who was an Avenger and the guy who knows how to do Spider-Man. And then, of course, outside looking in, he's the one who didn't get the third movie and didn't get resolution. And I don't know. I pretty much love everything that dude's in, and every scene with the three of them is the best scene in the movie.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned, if this movie had just been the like 6-minute scene of them on the scaffolding and then like the credits rolled, be like, yeah, okay, I had a good time with that.
I will say of the two guys we got to see again, I would most like to revisit Andrew Garfield's world now. I wouldn't have thought that going in, but the idea that he went sort of darker after that, even though I'm pretty over dark superheroes, it sounded kind of interesting. I'd like to see what happened in that world.
Yeah, we could talk a little bit about this. It's trended since the movie came out is, make TASM 3 or whatever. But I listen, I would go there. But the two interesting things that come out of that is, number one, there apparently the studio's already contacted him about doing more roles, whether that just being more multiverse stories or not. But two, apparently there was a clause in Jamie Foxx's contract that if it hit a certain financial milestone that he would get picked up for more movies. And it did it first weekend, of course, because the movie made, $600 million. So whether that be in the Amazing Spider-Man universe or whether that be in a different one, like they at least plan to bring back some of these characters again some way.
Well, I should say also Andrew Garfield and Jamie Foxx's like last little scene together was really good. It was a nice little closure for the two of them.
Yeah, I really liked their banner even before that moment when he first sees him and he's like, Max, come on, man. Like, it seems generally that version of Peter, and I think this is true for Toby as well, really cares for their villains.
Right.
I mean, Tom's, I don't think we've had that kind of personal relationship.
Right.
But
I think was an intentional choice.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I kind of preferred that the villains are some people that are important to Peter in those other movies.
I think the problem with the Amazing One is there was just too many that were like, how do you know this many people that became supervillains? I know that's true in the comics, but like, it's just every single person you ever meet.
Well, especially because that was so convoluted with trying to create all that hyper backstory with his parents.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like we'll almost have to revisit those timelines at some point because now they're changed, right?
Yep,
those guys are going back to not die.
Yeah, I thought that as well. Would that mean Gwen survived?
Would that mean Gwen survived? Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, should we talk about the least consequential after credit scenes ever that were probably the best ones also?
I'll be honest with you. I both loved and hated the Venom one.
I mean, I know that. I think that's exactly what they were supposed to be. It was a little self-contained story. And, and it was pretty uneventful. And I thought it was pretty great.
The best part is that Danny Rojas is in it.
100%.
Yeah, I know. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I thought it was a good little... I mean, it is a joke, and again, it does not make sense within the context of the movie in universe, but it's really funny.
Why do you think it doesn't make sense?
Because the whole point is it's the people who were brought by the spell were people who knew that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. He didn't even know who Spider-Man was, much less Peter Parker.
I figured this out already. Me on the way home, figured it out.
Tell me.
The symbiote knew. In the last after credit scene, the symbiote's talking to him about it, that the symbiotes are a hive mind and they know things even across other universes. So he knew because Topher Grace knew.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting.
I also think that Venom takes place in the Amazing Spider-Man universe.
I hope you're right.
Man, literally Hardy's Venom versus Garfield's Spider-Man.
That would be super fun.
They are born to go against each other.
I
Just
agree,
like
totally.
the kind of like witty, crazy nature of both. He'll go back and now he'll be like, well, there's got to be a Spider-Man here. I should find that guy.
Right. Yeah, man. Once again, Jones, you come up with something that I hope really happens.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
I want to talk about another one of those. So one of the things on that note that I wanted to come back to is, do you think that there was a draft of this movie where Christian was right in his prediction from last week or whatever week that was, that Tobey Maguire was the one that was supposed to be the Uncle Ben and was supposed to deliver the, with great power comes great responsibility line?
Oh, so I feel like I'm right, and I feel like they filmed it.
I also feel like they filmed it because it's set up so, like, I was positive he was, like, that was the whole point of that scene with the Goblin, with him, like, Tobey Maguire stepping in, sacrificing himself, all that kind of stuff.
It definitely did seem like Duke and G.I. Joe, the movie, where they decided after the fact that he was going to survive.
Yeah.
It felt like he was dead when that happened.
100% it did. And, like, again, like, I don't know, like, comparatively, I still might rather prefer that. Though, I don't know. I can't decide how I feel about, like, there's, like, this parallelism in the universe where this just happens to all of them at some point in their lives, like some kind of, like, fated thing, or if it makes more sense, especially since I feel like every writer since, the first movie has been so scared to actually say the words that if you're going to have somebody say, with great power comes great responsibility, it might as well be the fucking first guy that heard it.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. That's true. I may have liked that better.
Yeah, I mean, I like what they did with the movie, but I still feel like that was in there probably at some point.
There's absolutely a draft and possibly some footage, I think, where you are correct.
How long do you think we see it till these guys start promoting this movie? Like, there's got to be a late night appearance with all three of them,
soon,
right?
because like the internet's like already done everything at this point. You know, like
I just can't wait till Andrew Garfield can fucking, find, because, like Tobey Maguire's been, Howard Hughes for years. It hasn't bothered him at all. But this shit has driven Andrew Garfield nuts. So I can't wait till he can finally just say, yes, this is what's happening.
So I did want to talk briefly about the after credits again. This is confirmation that Secret Wars is going to happen, right? Is that how you guys took it?
Which part? The Doctor Strange preview thing?
No, I think because they left some of the symbiote behind. I think you're setting up Black Suit Spider-Man.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we were totally like, me and Sarah was like, who's going to get that? But that makes sense. I like that idea.
That's the first appearance of the Black Suit, I think, is in Secret Wars. So
that is correct. The Black Suit, that's where Spider-Man got it.
So, I mean, either that or we're going to get another person play Eddie Brock. And I don't know that I'm ready for that yet.
I definitely hope it's not that. And I definitely hope they don't use that as the way to turn Ned heel. Like, I like your idea the best.
I mean, we could talk about the Doctor Strange one, too, if we wanted to. It's kind of just a teaser trailer.
It is just kind of a teaser.
The only thing I wanted to ask you guys about it. So is the evil Doctor Strange in that? Is that the same? That's the same crazy Doctor Strange from What If, or is it a different one?
It's Strange Supreme or whatever they called him in What If. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. Even though he got kind of redeemed, didn't he, in the last episode?
Yeah, I don't think he definitely seems kind of evilish in that moment. I don't think he is, but it definitely felt like it in that moment. Apparently there are 3 or 4 different versions of Strange in Multiverse of Madness.
Oh, right on. That sounds fun.
That movie's going to be fucking bonkers.
It is.
I can't wait. Well, do we have anything else on No Way Home we absolutely have to hit?
There is one elephant in the room I feel like we have to address before we leave it, which is excluding, this is a big thing to set aside, but ignoring all of the payoff for the previous franchises, the closure, the whatever, like put our nostalgia and good feelings about this aside. Is there anything about this movie that needed to exist after Into the Spider-Verse? Does it do anything with this concept that was better than Into the Spider-Verse?
I mean, 100% this movie exists because they saw Into the Spider-Verse and it's like, hey, we could do that and make a lot of money if we got all the three Spider-Man guys back together. That's 100% the only reason this movie exists. But I'm fine with that. Does it need to exist? No, probably not. But I enjoy that it does.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Joseph. I do. There are 2 things I would add probably is that, there was rumor that there's a version of this movie that was like Craven. And I think that could have been a really good movie.
God, when are we going to get Craven? Holy shit.
Yeah. He's getting that solo movie with old Aaron Taylor Johnson, maybe. And I think when we first watched Far From Home, I think I on here that like now that everyone knows his identity, like he could go on the run and Craven could hunt him down. And I think that could have been a really cool movie, but I'm kind of glad we didn't do it because God, Spider-Man needed a movie in New York City.
That's true.
Thank God we finally got one in this. So I do think the kind of Spider-Man bit is taken from that film Into the Spider-Verse, but I'm kind of glad it exists. The other part of that is the ending of this movie, I think, is actually pretty smart because it solves a whole lot of problems that Marvel and Sony have had. And that suit is fucking gorgeous.
It's a good suit.
Suit is the fucking best, man.
But Peter choosing to have the whole world forget who he is and him start over is, I mean, I don't know. And again, I think that lends to Secret Wars because he doesn't have to show up in Avengers now. Like if you do a Secret Wars movie, he's just going to pop up in there like, hey, who's this fucking kid?
Right.
To me, it was a really clever ending. And I don't know if you could have got there any other way, I guess is my point.
I feel like despite the fact that, I pick on the Amazing Spider-Man movies for being just, way too grim and sad and full of death. I feel like this is the saddest ending for Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
Because not only does he lost all his friends, his aunt is dead. Nobody, but now he can't share it with anybody. It's just him by himself, and nobody knows who he is, and all of his friends don't know who he is.
Who's he gonna riff with?
I know.
Harry Osborn.
I did also kind of going back to something I think we talked about when these trailers for these movies come out. Is I feel like I don't know. Tony kind of struggled with this a little bit in the movies, but to have a movie centered on the moral responsibilities of a superhero, it's kind of amazing that we haven't really done more with this successfully, because I feel like they really nail it. The whole idea of choosing kindness even when it's almost nonsense, not nonsense,
right,
but even when it's dangerous, I guess, and giving people second chances and taking the great power comes great responsibility kind of thing. There's so much meat on that bone, I feel like. And it's just amazing to me that, for so many other movies that are functional. Spider-Man, definitely, this is a big core element, but it's a core element of pretty much every superhero. And it's amazing to me that that's not a bigger thing in other movies.
Yes, agreed.
Also, the scene where, like you talked about, where it's him with all of the villains and he's trying to fix them all. And it's just the Spidey sense and the camera work and the sound design in that scene.
Oh, so great.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
So fucking good.
Yeah.
The way they use the Spidey sense in this movie, I think, is the best they've probably ever done.
The best has ever been done on screen. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, we get the pointing scene, like the meme, and I'm glad that's there. Actually, they hit all the meme stuff. I'm somewhat of a scientist myself. The pointing, every time Norman grins, that's all there.
Dude, I had forgotten about I'm somewhat of a scientist myself, so I did not understand why my audience went nuts for that shit.
That's one of my favorite memes.
Yeah, the internet loves that line. So this is a good fucking movie. It's way better than Transformers.
It's better than Transformers.
It's not better than Infinity War or Endgame or Civil War or Winter Soldier like everyone claims it to be, but it's pretty damn good. I would say it's not the best Spider-Man movie either, because that's still into the Spider-Verse.
That's true, 100%.
But it's a pretty good live-action Spider-Man movie. It's up there with Spider-Man 2, in my opinion.
Oh, hang on a second. Fuck. All right, we're here. We might as well. Can we rank our Spider-Man movies?
Dude, I just did it on Twitter today.
Did you do it?
Elanders made me do it.
Okay, I want to hear them.
So I'm going to start top to bottom. It's easier that way. I put Spider-Verse and No Way Home as 1 and 2, but they changes. I haven't seen the other one enough to know. Spider-Man 2 is number 3. Homecoming is 4. Spider-Man 1 at 5. Amazing Spider-Man 1 at 6. Far From Home at 7. Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Fair enough. Have you got yours, or are you still thinking about it?
I'm still thinking about it. You go first.
Okay. I think I'm going to go Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man Homecoming. Oh, shoot. Hang on. I fucked this up. Obviously, no. Top of the list is Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck?
No, yeah, that's a major oversight. No, I got to fucking start it. Into the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man Homecoming. This one, No Way Home. Far From Home, Amazing Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man.
Interesting. Heard if you still don't have it, I could also read Elanders because I have his in front of me. Well,
I would love to hear that just in general. So do that, then I'll go.
His is No Way Home, Spider-Man 2, Into the Spider-Verse, Far From Home, Spider-Man, Homecoming, Amazing Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Man 3.
Okay, I'm going with Into the Spider-Verse number 1, of course. I think I'm going to go with Spider-Man 2 is next, then No Way Home, then fuck the fucking world, Spider-Man 3.
Fuck yeah. Stick to your guns.
Probably after that, Homecoming. What was the one after Homecoming? What's that movie even called?
Far From Home.
Far From Home. After that, Spider-Man 1, and then the 2 Garfield movies in either order, really.
Yeah. I mean, I think really what takes the cake for this film and those first 2 Maguire movies is just the villains are so fucking good.
Yeah.
I wish Garfield had one of them. If he just had one of them to fucking banter with,
Right.
we'd have a entirely different opinion of the Amazing Spider-Man movies.
I mean, for sure. I think Jamie Foxx had the chops for it. They just didn't capitalize on it.
Yeah.
Definitely. If this movie proves anything, is that they didn't use Jamie Foxx correctly.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, again, we talked about it. Their 2.5 minutes together are some of the best 2 minutes in the movie.
Yeah.
You could have had that for 2 hours and you didn't do it. Yeah, it's annoying.
Also, before we finally leave, we did actually get a comment on our episode for Spider-Man 3 from Ed, who I don't know who Ed is related to, or if maybe we just actually have a listener that's in no way related to any of us.
That'd be great.
That would be, who knows? He just saw No Way Home and says it's his worst Spider-Man movie and the worst Marvel movie since Thor: The Dark World, which I can't fully agree with, but it made me feel a little bit easier on the inside because everything I had seen on the internet up till that point was just like, this is the best movie ever made, and I was like, is it though? So it makes me feel good to know that I'm not like alone and being like, there's some flaws here.
I have a friend named Ed. God, that sounds like an Ed opinion. He's the most contrarian motherfucker on earth.
Go ahead. Close it up, Joseph.
But that's Spider-Man No Way Home. Will there be more Holland movies? Will there be more Garfield movies? Will Tobey Maguire ever make a movie again? Only time will tell.
And no one's worked harder to get a bigger contract than Tom Holland.
Yeah.
That kid is fucking working it.
It's good for him. Because I was just looking at like how much each of the Spider-Man, Spider-Man got paid, and Tobey Maguire is still like way taking the cake on that. So, I feel like just based on inflation, Tom Holland should be getting a higher paycheck.
Oh, for sure.
Well, you got to remember though, when Tobey Maguire did it, it was back when people went and saw movies.
That is a good point. But RDJ can get paid. Why can't Tom Holland?
Right.
Anyway, that's Spider-Man No Way Home. What have you been watching this past week, guys?
Since we last recorded, I basically have watched this movie and that's it.
Yeah.
We did so much shit for Ian's wedding that there was no time for anything else.
We watched Ian and Susie get married.
And that was real.
And it was
special.
better than Transformers.
Better than Transformers, totally.
So I want to revisit an opinion that I would have shared if we had actually done our Ted Lasso episode, which we were I think that was gonna follow up our Ghostbusters Afterlife, if I remember correctly. There might be something in the middle I'm missing, but we talked a lot about Ghostbusters Afterlife and Ghostbusters 2016. Kind of missing the mark and not really nailing the humor and the heart that was the original Ghostbusters. And it got me thinking a lot about those movies. And the conclusion I came to is there's no Venkman character in either of them. And Venkman is in a lot, he's everyone's favorite character. In a lot of ways, he's the heart of the movie. And he's a good embodiment of what makes Ghostbusters 1 so good, which is that Venkman is scared and he is intimidated by these situations, but the way he deals with them is by telling a joke. Right. So when that's what, Ghostbusters is, we've said a lot, is a scary movie that happens to be funny. And that's because you have characters like Peter Venkman who are terrified out of their mind. And then the way they handle it is that by telling a joke. And neither of those films do that. So what does that have to do with Ted Lasso? Fucking Jason Sudeikis needs to be the next Peter Venkman or Peter Venkman character.
That is spot on.
And the reason why is because Ted Lasso is kind of like Peter Venkman. He's not dirty or raunchy or like Venkman, but the way Ted Lasso as a character functions and handles stressful information is by making these crazy kind of anecdotal analogies and telling jokes. And, he has to kind of be told to get serious because he doesn't know how to process the information without humor. That's 100% Peter Venkman. Yeah, I don't know. I think if you're going to make another one, that's the guy you need to build it around.
Christian, why are you so good at this?
Yeah, you are really good at this. You should have been an executive.
Yeah, that's all I got.
I like it.
So last week I said I was watching Daredevil, and I've continued to watch Daredevil. And just something I wanted to say about watching Daredevil. Right after we got done with the podcast last week, Jones texted me and said, "Hey, where are you on Doctor Who?" And I don't know if this is what you meant by that, but I felt like you were saying, how can you have time to watch this shit when you haven't finished Doctor Who? And that's a great question.
I mean, it kind of did mean that, but, you know, in a more respectful kind, I just wanted to talk about Doctor Who kind of way.
Well, the thing is, I thought about it, and one of the reasons is that if I'm watching an hour-long Doctor Who, I actually watch it.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm watching an hour of Daredevil, I don't. Mm-hmm. But I did try to, it's like, man, that's a good point. I need to go back and start watching Doctor Who. So I started watching Doctor Who again. And then the person who I'm stealing HBO Max from, let their account lapse. What the fuck?
That bitch.
And the thing is, I'm not giving them anything, so I can't really complain. But fuck, come on, turn your shit back on. Second of all, since I'm giving Jones an update on this, Joseph, I felt like I should give you an update on this as far as my progress on BoJack Horseman. Me and Jones actually talked about this at the wedding, that we both tried watching that show, and we just have to take breaks because we don't want to nibble on a gun barrel. So where my current break is, I just a few weeks ago watched the episode where the whole episode is BoJack eulogizing his mother.
The free churros or whatever it is.
Yeah. Fucking brilliant, fucking hilarious, great performance by Will Ferrell. After it's done, I was like, I can't watch this show for a fucking while.
That's fair.
It's just too heavy if you're prone to depression.
Good.
As for Daredevil, I've going through it. I'll back off on it a little bit. The action in this show is really good, and when the shit starts to happen in it, the shit is good. But it just takes it so long to happen. And if you spend all this time explaining your character's motivations, your characters never get a chance to surprise you. So, that's what I got this week.
To follow up with you on BoJack Hurt, I get you. For me, it's BoJack is just that perfect sad album where it's like, I know it's fucking it fucking depresses the shit out of me, but it makes me feel so seen that I can't not watch it. It fulfills me in a very specific way. So right. it doesn't tear me down quite as badly. And to your point, it's the best thing that Will Arnett will ever do is that show. I don't think that Will Arnett is a bad actor. I just think that Will Arnett's got a lot of face stuff when he acts in front of a camera.
Right.
And when he's not in front of a camera and he's just in front of the microphone, he does fucking phenomenal shit. It's so fucking good. I love Arrested Development. I love Will Arnett, but it's the best thing he will ever do.
It's probably the best thing he'll ever do too, because he seems like he's given up.
Yeah, maybe.
It seems like he kind of is BoJack at this point.
And Lego Batman. Those are the peak of his career.
I think he does a Lego show now too. He's,
Lego Masters.
Yeah. So kind of Christian, I didn't get that much done this week because I was also doing wedding stuff. So I'm going to do something I've been threatening to do for a while, which is talk about anime. So
cool.
Buckle in, baby.
So wait a minute. Let me clarify. You mean the 1 week you didn't talk about anime, you threatened to talk about anime?
I went 2 weeks without talking about anime, but I threatened to talk about them.
Let the record show.
Let the record show. We can roll back the tape on this one. It's the longest I've ever shut up about it. So we're approaching the end of the fall season. There's a winter, summer, spring, whatever. They all started about the same time. They all ended about the same time. Traditionally, fall is not the best one, and I don't think this one is the best. A great exception this year has been outrageously good for the most part, and fall has not been outrageously good. I started on 8 or 9 shows, and I would say only 2 of them are very good. But the 2 that I want to mention that I do think are very good there is a show called Ranking of Kings. It's kind of a fantasy anime. And one of the things I like about it is anime has got a problem with the fantasy genre, which one is great that they do it because there's not enough fantasy shit. But, they stick really hard to kind of the JRPG style fantasy world. And even when you don't do that, even if you expand beyond that realm, you kind of do I don't know. It's so hard to do fantasy without being Lord of the Rings, It's just hard to do nowadays. One of the things I love about this is it just feels like such a unique fantasy world, and it feels so much like a fairy tale in a way that it's hard for me to put into words. In just the way that I feel like fairy tales, like it's a really compelling narrative. It's about the son of the greatest king on earth, who is like the tiniest, most pitiful thing, who's trying to prove himself and whatever. And there's a lot of other machinations and things happening, but it's got a really interesting visual style. And just like one of the things that I like about fairy tales is sometimes just like weird shit is in there for no reason. Like there's not like an in-universe thing. It's not like it's just there, and that's just kind of part of what makes it fantastical. And I like it's such a unique vision, this world. So I think if you like fantasy and you're looking for something fresh, it's neck and neck for my top one for the fall, and it's very good. Ranking of Kings. The other one I want to talk about is one that I feel like is harder to pitch. It's a anime about art. It's called Blue Period. And it's about a young high school student who's kind of just a normal, pragmatic student who wants to like get a job and make money and looks down on people who are, frivolous about their passions. And then suddenly he's inspired by art and decides he wants to take up art. And like, it's really interesting. Like it's kind of one of those competition fighting animes where there's no fighting. It's just about making better pictures, but it kind of follows kind of to your point, Christian, earlier. It reminds me of Ted Lasso in that kind of the realization that he has at the beginning of the story, besides that he likes art, is that like, oh, the world is better if you just stay curious, like just be curious. And that's kind of reigning sentiment in it. And it's just kind of, I don't know, it's about art, but it's also about like, finding your identity and your passions and all that kind of stuff. And it's freakishly compelling for just being about a dude that draws pictures. I can't really describe it.
Man, I've almost started this like half a dozen times.
It's so fucking good. So there is a third anime that up until like 2 weeks ago, I was like, I really want it to be good, like so bad. It's a terrible name, Tact Op Destiny or Tact Opus Destiny. Doesn't matter. The name's terrible. And I'd say that the general principle of it is it's a quiet place, but with music instead of just sound in general. So that's like the basic premise. But then they like put their hand on the anime dial and turned it to like 13. So like I can't say it's the best anime, but it's definitely the most anime that has come out this season. And it's a joint collaboration between Mappa and Madhouse, who are two like big anime studios. And it looks amazing. Like it's so fucking good to look at, but it's just nonsensical. I can't in good conscience recommend it. But if you like things that are pretty to look at, it's a good show.
We're only a few weeks from Attack on Titan coming back,
I
right?
fucking know it.
Yeah.
Winter's going to be good, man. I'm stoked about it. Anyway, that's my anime ramble for a week or two.
Well, cool beans.
Yep. Do we have something for next week?
I mean, listen, it's the last week of the year. We could do our favorite movies.
I guess it is the last week of the year. Yeah, we should do just like a year in review in general.
No Ian next week again. He will be on his honeymoon.
He's doing like living life instead of doing the sad podcast.
To hell with him.
Yeah, but not really, buddy. Please come back. We miss you.
Please come back.
Yeah, we love you.
Well, cool. Thank you, everybody, for listening. If you have thoughts about Spider-Man No Way Home, I feel like there's a pretty big variety of opinions out there. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Send us an email at realphonies@gmail.com. You can also reach us on Facebook at Real Phonies, on Instagram, Real_Phonies. Thanks to Zach Evans for art and Brian Velasquez for our theme. We'll see you guys later.
Later.